both Davids a long time ago. Just share a wee anecdote about David Amery. Soon after he came to London, I remember meeting him on the corner of Commercial Street and New Road, and we had a great chat about Eduardo Galeano's book, Open Veins of Latin America. And that was sort of typical of David, to both be rooted where he was, but also to know many other places. So it's true of David Kessel as well, I think.
Stephen, can you speak up a little or closer to the mic?
Okay, yeah. Is that better?
Yeah.
Dave Kessel I knew from the late 70s, late 1970s. When I first knew him, he was practicing as a GP in Poplar. He then had a second, what would be called schizophrenic breakdown, and I use a word which is not a word I like, but it's a word that he did use very strongly in his poetry and in the astonishing work he did about negotiating the health system. He used it both for himself and for other people he was supporting. And I just want to say that for me, David Kessel, for me both Davids, David Amery and David Kessel, are great poets. I really think they're astonishing. And it's strange that it's more now that they're not with us that I've come to realise that. I mean, I think David Kessel's poetry is deeply, deeply rooted in immediacy and immediate emotion, immediate fact, in a way that great swathes of modern British poetry simply isn't. It's not clever poetry, it's not trying to concoct something or create a name for himself in the slightest. It's very, very strong to my mind. Let me read a short poem which I hope sums that up. Summer Rain from 2000. Summer rain on Stepney streets, dying to oneself on dirty pavements, when clouds part and sunlight floods a courtyard. A Sufi song, as ruthful as the rain. He doesn't say as truthful as the rain, he says as ruthful as the rain, bringing in so much feeling into that. Shit jobs for shit wages, the Cockney's curse, on their faces a ravaged, wonderful earth. I just think that's a fantastic poem. Yeah. And if I can read a short fragment. That was a beautiful poem called Song Thrush in 1988. From a dead tree, a song stark and steadfast as solitude. I have known some friendship, but none like this aching, dark, terrible singing across a small plot of dust, betraying our humanity with its pitiful desire, where meeting the night beckons desperate cottages and surrender to the roving wind and hawthorn copses nurture. I was going to read his poem Ruby Courage, because for me those two words, Ruby Courage, almost sum up Dave Kessel. It's an incredibly visceral, physical term, but it's also an incredible term of emotion. Ruby, blood, courage. Courage that we will have in us if we can let it out, which most of us can't. If I think of David Kessel in two words, I think Ruby Courage. But I won't read it because I think we're going to hear David himself reading it in a video later on.
You should read it anyway if you like to.
Yeah. dedicated to, as an elegy for Patricia Walters and Tony O'Donnell. These are David's words, happily schizophrenics who died in 2007. Long before and after mankind, the wooded hillsides echo the call of the wood pigeon at dusk. Grey streets wherein my heart lies, black of the clouds, heavy with rain. Sweet surge of heroin in a cold back room. The smell of nuclear wind in the morning, and afterwards alone, as never before. Addicted to life, all life we may withstand. Huge-hearted Patwalters in a Hackney street, arguing and singing her black gospel, martyred by our indifference. Wry humour of Turkish voices from an alleyway. A trendy, genocidal English gent in a fight with ECT rat O'Donnell with his ruby courage. Being hard to survive, tender to live. And Copernicus, who transposed his lust into such wonder for a few naked years, hunger half of life, respect the other half. The pain of London pavements and sleet across Scarfell. And a typical David to link East London with the mountains that he loved. He wrote that, or at least in this version, because he kept changing versions in 2010. There's a huge amount more to say about both David Kessel and David Amery, and many of you can say things better than I can about them, and I hope will in the second half. I'm just debating whether to read a poem of David Amery's, which I was going to, but I'm aware of time, so what's the sense?
Read it.
Read it.
Yeah? Okay. It's from this book, Urban Shamanism, which he shared with a poet from West London, a poet from North London, and a poet from South London. I think Sean's going to read one, but Sean will read the same one, so that's okay. Westfield Dreaming. I think these late poems of David Amery, he has such a fantastic sense of social media and the debilitating effects of new fascisms or fascisms innate in democracy. It's incredible the language he uses. Insinuating myself by a selfie and a personalised app into the high-resolution, full-colour 3D realisation of a wombat's womb on the sacred site of a wild, whelping wallaby by the impregnation of its interior layout, the insemination of its multi-level concourse, and the ejaculation of its exact location just by Stratford Station. Materialising intrauterine as a half-inch long blind baby bandicoot on walkabout from the dried up waterhole of its conceiving to the immensity of its elongated atrium, the sheer density of its retail outlets, and the intensity of its global footprint, bendy like a boomerang, mapping my moves on Google Glass as an ideal consumer in a virtual marketplace with the absolute autonomy of a dingo in a ditch, or a possum in its pouch, and the pure geometry in its purchasing actions, the trigonometry in its silicon transactions, the abstract astronomy in its frictionless interactions of a bilby in a billabong, tracking my trace through the infinite planes of commercial exchange in this digital arcade as tiny hopping prints across the vast desert floor of ancestral dreamtime, with the immutability of its installations, the incomputability of its constellations, the inscrutability of its crystallizations, home within the universe. I'll stop there, thank you.